Hi there, my name's Beth, and this week I asked my patrons if they would like to see me attempt to create some doll-sized plush toys. They were quite excited to see this, as was I, because I've had this collection of beautifully soft, short pile fabric for quite a while. I've been planning to use it to make miniature toys, but just needed an excuse. The style of toys I would like to create today are these Squishmallows and Squishfill plushes. I had a look on Pinterest for some inspiration, and although the Squishmallow toys are quite large, the smaller Squishfill ones are already perfectly doll-sized. They're sold in blind box packaging usually, so it can be difficult to find the designs you want. I thought I would try creating my own version of some of their cutest styles. I do already have some large, medium and small plushes of my own, but I always enjoy putting my own spin on these things. I started out with some sketching, measuring one of the small toys and examining my fabric to work out which way it stretches the most. I'll include links in the description box below for the fabric I have here in case you want to try this yourself. This fabric has a very short pile, which points in a specific direction. I would prefer the hair to point downwards in my final toys. The fabric stretches widthways, so I'm accounting for that in my measurements here. I will expect my final plush to spread out a little in the middle once it's stuffed. I rough out some pattern pieces, cutting them out of paper. Some of these designs have a separate coloured tummy piece. I sketched this out and trace it back onto paper, adding seam allowance for an overlap. I have the pieces for a basic body shape with a tummy, and decided to make my first test using green fabric and green felt to make some frog eyes. I position my template pieces so that the fabric pile is oriented the right way. I cut the tummy piece out of white fur. I create a small template for the frog eyes and will position them at the top later when I'm sewing the body. This short-haired fur isn't too obnoxious once cut, but it does shed a little, so I try to remove the excess before I continue. For my first test, I'll try joining the tummy and front piece so that the seam allowance will be on the inside. Hopefully it will sit nicely once sewn and not look puckered. I hand stitch everything in this video, and for this piece I use a simple back stitch, so that it'll retain a little stretch. I use pins to help me keep things aligned because the fur does make things shift around a little. This method gives me a nice clean join and it isn't too difficult. I will pin the eyes facing inward before placing on the back piece. I will pin and sew around the upper curved edge before attaching the base piece. I decided to check how the eyes look before attaching the base, and I think I didn't put them in far enough. They look too small. I'll unpick and restitch them before I proceed. I pin the base in place and will sew around, leaving a space open to turn everything right side out. Let's see how it looks this time. The eyes are much better, and I think once stuffed, it'll look quite similar to the original body. I use a standard toy filling, taking a small piece at a time, and stuff the body. Once satisfied, I use a ladder stitch to close the opening in the base. I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. I think these will make a really cute toy size for Blythe dolls. I thought the base piece was a touch too small, so I will add a little to it before I sew the next one. The colour of felt isn't quite a perfect match, but you could always paint it before sewing it in. I'm going to embroider on the mouth detail using some black thread, and will paint on the eyes using acrylic paint and a dotting tool. The eyes go on nice and easy, and I even decided to put on pink cheeks too. Here I'm using simple stitches to create a W-shaped mouth. I find that the fur is covering the thread a little and making it hard to see the mouth, so I'll trim back the length where needed. What do you think of my cute little frog? Next up, I'm going to make a creature that my daughter will love, a goat. I have some nice purple felt and fur that will look nice for this. I use one of my scrap template pieces to plan out a face piece. I add on a little seam allowance and also make templates for felt horns and ears. I'll also need a tummy piece, but this time I will try turning in the edges and sticking it directly over the body. I cut out 2 solid body pieces and a base, a white tummy and face piece, and will layer up 2 pieces of felt for each horn and ear, with the ears being made from white and purple. I added on a little extra seam allowance for the tummy because I'm going to fold in the edges and glue them. I did the same for the face piece. I position them how I want them before pinning and hand stitching onto the body piece. I use a simple running stitch this time. I check the distance of the original toy's eyes, realising that my face is perhaps a little wide. I think I'll trim away the longer fur around the edges of the white pieces and on the flat area where I plan to embroider the nose and mouth details. This makes the edges a little sharper, and as you see, the nose and mouth are much clearer. I'm going to try using black beads for the eyes on this one. It's already looking super cute, and here's the inside. I have my 2 horns and 2 ears ready to insert. I placed them like so, and will clip them in place before sewing around the top edge. Quick check to make sure everything looks okay, and then I sew on the base piece as before. I add stuffing through the gap, then stitch it closed. If you have areas where the fur has been caught in the seam, you can use the end of a pin or a needle to untuck it and fluff up the seam again. I'm already delighted with how this little goat looks, but I'm going to try adding some blush using my pan pastels. I soften the blush with an old toothbrush, and I really like how it turns out. My last plush for today will be the mushroom. I think the easiest way to make it will be to make a basic body with tummy piece, then add on the mushroom cap like a hat. I sketch out a circle template and will cut out one piece with a hole in the middle and one solid piece. I check my template against my frog and I think it should work. Fingers crossed. Here are all the pieces I cut out for my mushroom. I assembled the body as before, folding over the edges of the tummy piece before stitching it directly to the body. I turned and stuffed the body, leaving the opening for now in case I need to make any adjustments. I join my 2 red pieces, right sides in, and sew all around the outer edge. I plan to turn it right side out and pull it over the top of the body before stitching in place. It looks quite good as it is here, but I'm going to add a little stuffing to the cap before I sew it on. I roughly pin the cap in place before hand stitching using a ladder stitch. Working my way around the body, I take a little stitch from the cap and then a little stitch from the body. When pulled tight, they create a near invisible join, hiding the raw edge too. I add a bit more stuffing through a gap in the back before completing my seam. I think it looks really cute. I was worried the brim of the mushroom cap wouldn't stick out enough. I think I will close in the gap on the body, use beads again for the eyes, and then decide how to add some spots to the top. Here's my plain mushroom with little blushed cheeks again, looking adorable with his friends. I just wanted to show him off before I add his spots. I considered using white felt circles which could be glued on, but I decided to use white acrylic paint and a dotting tool again. The white paint needed to be applied twice to look bright enough, but I think it looks really great now it's finished. Huge thanks to all my patrons, and a big welcome to my newest member, Sian Thomas. I really appreciate all your support and your input, and hope you enjoyed this project. I will be sharing my sewing template pieces for free in a public post over on Patreon, so check the link in the description box below and go get your copy even if you're not a member there. I would love to know what you thought of today's video in a comment below. Please like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!